How did you make the decision of starting learning French? Obviously you saw it as an immigration perspective and you wanted to strengthen your immigration profile. But like, what clicked in you guys? Okay, French would be possible for us. How did you used to learn vocabulary while you were doing the grammar?
Okay, we need to leave A1 and A2 as soon as possible, but that was the wrong thing because later on that thing created problems for us on B1 level, and because of that we spend a lot of time on B. I've been speaking, but you don't know how to speak, you don't know how to formulate the questions in French, because speaking in French and speaking for exam, it's completely different thing.
If you were to give one advice, Rajan, to beginners and as well to intermediates, what advice would that be if someone is planning to start their French learning, or if they're in the beginning phase of their French learning and they're feeling it is too difficult, like, will I be able to do it, or how it will be? What will be your advice to those beginners?
They are right, it is difficult, because when I started I didn't think that it would be this difficult for someone like me, because I was good in academics in my school. So मुझे लगता था कि हो जाएगा यार, language ही तो है. So but when I got into the language, it was tough, but you just need to be there.
Awesome. Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. So today I have Rajan with me. How are you doing, Rajan? Welcome to today's video.
Pretty good, Vyom. How are you?
I'm good as well, and first of all, congratulations for clearing your TEF Canada exam. So Rajan, can you tell us about how much did you score in all 4 modules? What was your score? You gave the first attempt, right? So you gave the first attempt with Darshil,
yeah.
And both of you cleared your TEF Canada exam in first attempt. And what was the score?
Yeah, so for me, the reading was 9, CLB 9. For listening, I got CLB 11. For writing, I got CLB 8. And for speaking, I got CLB 7.
Perfect. That's great. So I'll talk to viewers about your timeline as well, and then so that's a great score, Rajan. So why don't you introduce yourself a little bit, and how did you start learning French? What was the plan? And what's your journey in Canada like?
Okay, so myself Rajan Gurjar. So I have started learning French a year and a half ago with Frenchify with Vyom and with Vyom. So earlier I didn't had any ideas of learning French because I was searching for something which could help me to get my PR, and then I came across French, and that's how I started French.
Okay, sounds good. So let's also talk about your timeline, because you started right from A1 level with Frenchify. You and Darshil, both of you guys were together. I took an interview with Darshil as well. So if you guys want to watch that video, make sure to click the link below this video. You both started on 7th October at A1. You went on to A2 on 25th November, and then B1 on 5th March, then B2 on 29th September. And then you gave your TEF Canada exam on 20 December. That was the first attempt. We were properly confident, and the result came in January, and you cleared it.
Yeah.
How are you feeling after clearing it? How was the feeling?
So first of all, I was pretty happy about that I cleared it in first attempt, because clear करना था वो पता था, but it will be possible for me to clear it in first attempt, because I was really hoping for that to happen, because to go to some other places, because I live farther in north area. So for me to go to south area and then give the exam, it's a bit of trouble for me. So I was hoping that it happens in the first attempt, and it happened. So I'm pretty happy about it.
Okay, that's good. So in today's interview, Rajan, we are going to do a detailed discussion on how you guys used to study together, you and Darshil. How did you prepare and how did you motivate each other? And we are also going to talk about exam preparation and what specific techniques or what specific study methodology you guys used in reading, listening, writing, speaking. And we'll also do an actual section A and section B, which I'll be putting out for viewers so that they're able to see level of you guys as well. And then I have also talked to Darshil. I'll also be uploading that video so others can also see Darshil's perspective on learning French. Okay, so Rajan, I want to first of all, I don't even want to talk about how did you guys start learning A1 A2. I want to talk about how did you make the decision of starting learning French. Not like okay, you saw obviously you saw it as an immigration perspective and you wanted to strengthen your immigration profile, but like, what clicked in you guys? Okay, French would be possible for us, and this is something that we can actually do. How did that happen?
So first of all, the thing was, we just cleared up college, and after that we were in a phase that we were deciding on what journey we should start on, or what should we do to improve our chances for PR. And that time, like, Darshil was more keen into these things, and I was just back with Darshil. So Darshil was searching for something, and Darshil came across your reel. That was reels regarding, I still remember he sent me that reel that I came in a few years, that I came in Canada, then I got my PR in 4 years because of French. Then I saw that video, and I was really hoping that I don't have to learn French, because you have been learning for, like, you have been studying for 1.5 years and 2, and now you want a break. But I was really hoping कि यार French ना करना पड़े. But then eventually we were like, oh चलो French ही करना पड़ेगा. So that was the part. So I came across you, like your channel, and I got to meet you because of the show.
Okay, perfect. And Rajan, talk to me about your support with Darshil throughout the beginner journey, because when you started with A1, you both used to study basic level French before, because at A1 A2 we were doing basic studies. So how did you guys study? What used to be your specifically your study routine, and how did you tackle those beginner level things?
So for beginner level or for E1 and E2, I would say for personally, like it was the same thing for Darshil as well. But personally, like I used to focus more on grammar part, because I had this thing clear from IELTS as well. Because if your grammar, if your core is pretty strong, then it won't give you a hard time over the long run. So I was pretty clear that मुझे grammar अपना strong रखना है, so that when I move to B1 or B2, that it doesn't poses me a lot of problems when I move forward in the journey.
Okay, sounds good. And how many hours were you investing on regular basis? What used to be your study time or time split? Okay, this X amount of time I want to give to grammar, and Y amount of time I want to give into other modules with Frenchify programs.
Okay, so for like for even E2, I would say 2 hours a day, 2 hours a day on average. Like I used to give 2 hours a day, but it used to be sometimes 3 hours as well, and sometimes it used to be hour and a half as well.
Okay, sounds good. All right. So, Rajan, let's talk about why choosing Frenchify, but also just want to talk about why choosing the structured learning rather than just doing self-study when it comes to learning French. Because I believe in the beginning, you guys might have thought as well, ki, okay, let's try to study it by yourself, and then you might have switched. Like, what was the planning? Why did you choose to go with the Frenchify programs?
Yeah, because the thing is, like yeah, this thing came to our minds as well, that ये तो हम personally भी सीख सकते हैं, because there are a lot of videos on YouTube, and there are other stuffs to learn something, because eventually it's in language, right? So you have that intuition that अगर मैं movies देखना start कर दूंगा, या फिर songs listen करना start कर दूंगा, then it would be possible for me to learn French as well. But eventually you have to give an exam, right, at the end. So you need someone, or you need a guidance from someone who has cleared it, someone like you, to be precise, because you have that clear idea, okay, what should you need to do, and what you need to do if you want to move forward in your journey. So for me, when I cleared even A2, I was blank. Okay, a B1 may, because you have to learn more and more of French from other people, or from like from listening and from reading as well. So here you play an important role, because you can guide the other people to where you can, like what amount of time you need to put in, what you should listen, and in what manner you should listen to a video, or you should read, that you can imbibe more and more from those videos.
Perfect. Sounds good. Let's talk about there are two major aspects when we talk about a beginner journey. When someone is a beginner, one thing which is very important is learning a grammar, right? And the other thing which is very important is consuming enough vocabulary as well, right? Because if we only restrict too much on doing the grammar, then what happens is we understand the structures, but when we start to do reading practice, or when we try to do listening practice, it becomes very difficult to understand things. So how did you used to learn vocabulary while you were doing the grammar?
Okay, so like in A1 and A2, I didn't had any clear ideas about how should I learn more and more vocabularies. As I told you, that my main focus was on to learn more conjugations, like regarding past tense and stuff. And I used to do that book that you suggested in the course. Like there was a grammar book, and I used to do that grammar book. And there were a lot of words like annulé, partager, like similar words, like normal words. Then I used to see conjugations of those words, and there were like synonyms of those words in the exercise of those grammar books. So I used to, like, I started my journey that way, and then I moved on to reading like short story books, and then watching short French videos, like beginner French videos, that gives you like vocabulary that is not too high, but that is comprehensible for someone who is starting to learning French.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. Yeah, very very useful thing for beginners to do
Yeah.
during this time. All right, Rajan, let's talk about one very important thing, because you started at A1, then you went on to A2, so you have that experience through which you can advise beginners as well on what to do or what not to do. Okay, so what would be your advice for someone who is at A1 or A2, or who is just in the beginning phase of their language learning journey, on what to do and what not to do?
Okay, what to do? Just be consistent with what you have been learning. Like since you are on E1 and A2, you just need to focus on grammar and what is being taught in the course. Like just focus on that part. And when I was on E1 and A2, like me and Darshil both, we were like, okay, we need to leave A1 and A2 as soon as possible. But that was the wrong thing, because later on that thing created problems for us on B1 level, and because of that we spend a lot of time on B1. So while you are on A1 and A2, yeah, you need to hurry up, but take your time and just do it in a manner that you know most of the stuff when you move to B1. Like when you move to B1, it is not a problem for you to learn new French or to learn higher vocabulary.
Okay, so basically be a little bit patient. Try not to do everything because things will happen eventually throughout the levels.
To be a problem with me and Darshil a lot. Like, हमें क्यों आ नहीं रहा है, हमें क्यों आ नहीं रहा है? Like, that was
Correct.
a problem for us.
And when did it click in your mind? You okay? Now things started. Now you are able to understand things. Now the language is coming into play. When did that happen?
Okay, I still remember a YouTube channel that you suggested to us, that there were long podcasts in that. I know the name
Yeah.
of the channel. I forgot the name of the channel. There was something
Inner French?
Yeah, Inner French. So there were
Yeah.
long podcasts and there were 30 podcasts. So we used to watch that podcast, and you have suggested it that in the course that you should watch that that podcast as well. So there was one podcast, and I understood like almost 60 or 70% of the French. So that was the day when you feel like, okay, आज मुझे कुछ आया है. So that was the most happiest day at that time when you used to be in A2. So that was the day when we felt like, okay, now we are getting something, so we need to move forward and just hop on to other things now.
Awesome. So Rajan, now let's move from our beginner levels to intermediate levels now. When you guys transition from A1, A2 to B1, what was the change in approach towards language learning that you felt? And what would you say these are the things which now are more important than a person who would focus on, than a person who is studying A1, A2, they focus on XYZ amount of things, but moving on to B1 and B2 higher levels, these are the things which becomes more in priority.
Okay, yeah. For that, I would say, Vyom, like as I told you that on A1 and A2 we used to focus more on grammar. When I moved to B1 and B1, my main priority was how I can do more and more readings and how I can do more and more listening. Earlier, I didn't give much importance to that stuff because I thought like one video a day or 1,000 words a day would be enough, because that's what you think, because for like last 3 months of A1 and A2 you have been doing grammar and you have been reading few words. So in comparison to those words, 1,000 words seems a lot, but in reality that's not much. So you need to pay more attention to B1, like reading and listening on the initial stages of B1, so that you can develop that base, develop that base of vocabulary, verbs, and more phrases and expressions in French. Because earlier when you know English, you have that habit of translating English, like French expressions from English sentences. I used to do that a lot personally. Then I got to know, okay, for this French has different sentences. You need to focus on that and you need to know those sentences, and that sentence you can know either by listening or either by reading. So according to me, reading and listening are those aspects that I give much importance to, and they paid off at the end.
Correct. So would you mind sharing your reading and listening routine at intermediate level? Like how did you, let's say today you want to do reading and listening practice, what did you do? How did you plan your day? Okay, I'll do X amount of things and X amount of things in reading listening.
Okay, so for listening, it was 3 or 4 channels that you have suggested: RFI, TV Sankmont, Yugo Dikrit came in later on, but TV Sankmont and RFI, we started on watching videos from TV Sankmont and RFI. And earlier we used to watch just one video a day. So one video a day. And how we used to practice listening, it was I used to watch, suppose I'm listening to a audio, then I'll listen to that audio and then I'll try to comprehend how much I have got. So earlier it used to be just 20 or 30%, because B1 level audios are pretty high in vocabulary in itself. So you know that someone who has just has gotten into B1, it's not possible for him to learn French and to comprehend each and everything. So earlier it used to be like 20 to 30%, and then over the time it got better, and over the time I also increased the amount of audios and amount of the videos that I used to listen. And for reading, it used to be 1,000 words, but it, like, the content from where I should read words was read the words were different. Earlier I used to read from Friends short stories book, and there was another book which used to mainly focus on cultures and different things, like culture of this part of French, culture of this part of French. So I got into that stuff, and then I moved to higher level vocabulary stuff such as RFI articles and Le Monde and La Libération.
Yeah, correct. When it comes to listening, as you mentioned, you used to have like 30% comprehension when you started earlier. From 30% comprehension to being able to understand almost everything, right? How did that transition happen? I want to ask this because there are a lot of students currently, those who are like in the beginner intermediate level, where they can listen to slow and easy to understand French listening audios or videos, but when it comes to listening to higher level stuff, that becomes very challenging and difficult. So how did you build that comprehension of listening? What would be your key points you would like to give out to students that they should do?
There's just one key point, view. Listen like as much as you can. This is the only thing that I did. Because when I started, as I'm telling you that I used to listen to one audio per day. But then when I still remember that day when like me and Darshil were thinking that like we are ready for B2, now we need to tell Vyom that transfer us to B2. So then you told us like first give 2 mock test exam. So till that time, Vyom, we used to do like 1 audio per day and 1,000 words per day from that French success stories or the other part. When we gave the exam or like that mock test from French Success Institute, we just got 15 right answers in both listening and reading. And in order to go to B2, you need 23 or 24.
Yeah.
15 points. And that day we were like, that was a reality check for both of us. Okay, we need to pay more attention. We need to do more of the readings and listening. From thereafter, we started like three audios. And from thereafter, we started doing revision. So revision was the point we used to skip. From there on, we started doing more and more of revision, what we have learned over this week or over past 10 days or over past 15 days. And we used to do like, at the end, we used to do like 7, 8 videos from RFI TV, Syncmon. So that's the key point. Just do more and more listening. And I also started watching TV series from French. And this is one thing that one of the other students, Jogeshwar, he suggested me that because he was a friend of mine. So he told me what series in French, because that would help you a lot.
Correct. Now, when you're listening, when you're doing a listening practice, how often you're switching on transcripts and how often you are relying on reversals versus keeping the transcript on and not using reverso or translator at all?
So right now?
No, generally, like when you were preparing, when you were around B1, when you were like, training your listening level.
Okay. So that time, like reverso used to be there. Honestly, reverso used to be there, and there were a lot of vocabulary that you don't know. And in listening, especially because if you don't understand a verb, then your whole like rhythm is broken. Then you need to focus again on the topic, like what was the topic, and in this time, then you don't understand whatever the audio tried to tell or whatever the audio tried to convey. So at that time, I used to use reverso. I used to like I had that habit of making 2 pages a note from listening itself. So I used to write around 25 to 40 verbs or 40 words from each listening, no matter what.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, let's talk about the transition from B1 to B2, Rajan. When you were around in the end of B1, or also I would like to talk about what used to be your training at B1 when you were doing the speaking sessions with Frenchify as well. How that feedback helped you and how those sessions helped you to plan your journey to move forward from B1 to B2.
Yep. So like in those sessions, like when we were ready to transition from B1 to B2, like we had like weekly sessions for speaking as well as writings. So for speakings, I would say that they were really helpful because you have been speaking, but you don't know how to speak. You don't know how to formulate the questions in French, because speaking in French and speaking for exam, it's completely different thing. That is one thing that I have noticed. If there is a person like when I went to exam, there was a person who used to speak in French, but he didn't know how to speak and formulate the questions as I did, even though he was a native person. And that comes with someone that who knows how to formulate questions. So when I looked at the course, then I still remember you have pointed out the questions that you could ask and variations of questions that you could ask. So that I used to like me and Darshil, we used to practice those questions, and when we used to speak those questions in front of you for section A, speaking like profoundly about it. So section A, we used to get a feedback. Okay, now no, Vyom speaks this verb in this manner. Vyom pronounces this in this manner. So it gives you an overview. Okay, where do you stand and where you want to reach. So this is how live session has helped me a lot.
Perfect. So yeah, now let's talk about our B2 program, the TEF specific program. Now, once you started B2, what was the difference, or I would say, how did your mindset change? Okay, now is the time where we are doing the exam specific preparation. So how your study routine, or if there was any change, like how was your study routine and how was your study methodology different in B2 than all the previous levels?
Yeah. So like in B2, by the time we reached B2, we were already a year in French. We were already a year down in French. So it was like, अब समय आ गया, अब हमें कुछ करना ही होगा, because everyone, like you see Jogeshwar, like other students who used to be like with us, we used to feel like, okay, हम कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं, बाकी सब कर रहे हैं. So we were like charged up when we reached B2. So we were like, we need to learn French in a manner that at the end it's possible for us to clear, not at least clear so that we can get an idea of an exam. So when we reached B2, so it was mainly about Vyom. Now we know how to speak, we know how to write, but now the thing is about, can we write up to CLB 7 and can we listen up to CLB 7? So thereafter we started focusing more on content and more on exam based preparations. That is for like we using other resources and the resources which are available. We started doing more and more of mock test. We started doing more and more of practice with each other, and in that I would say sessions has helped me a lot. And this is one thing that I would like to mention to other people as well, that personally I think that the reason why me and Darshil, we both got our speaking cleared in first attempt, because a lot of people face a lot of difficulty in while speaking. So why we got our speaking clear was because of Vyom and Darshan and Harlin, because these are three people with whom I used to practice. Because when I used to practice with Vyom had a completely different overview of looking and evaluating your speaking. Darshan Bhai has completely different, and Harlin had completely different. From Vyom I learned how you can pronounce the word, how you need to, how your sentences need to flow if you want to score high. And from Darshan I learned how to use subjunctives and how I can add idioms. And from Harlin it was like mainly about like speech, like it's sounding more monotonous, and she helped me with that stuff as a lot. So in B2 I would say that own practice and the help of Frenchify with Vyom has helped me a lot to clear the exam.
Perfect. So basically, you got a different. You worked on different aspects with different instructors that helped you kind of like overall improve your speaking as a whole.
Yeah.
Good. That's great. That's great to see. Now, yeah, let's talk about the exam. Exam day, 20 December, right? And when you guys went over there, how was the overall experience in the test center?
Yeah, so first of all, we were hell nervous because the exam center, like the college in itself, it was huge college. So when we entered the college, हमको पता ही नहीं चला कि अब जाना कहाँ पे. So for the first half hour and 45 minutes, we were just trying to find the room where we had our exam. So because everything was written in French, and you don't know anyone, everyone is speaking in French, so you hesitate a lot. Okay, should I go and ask about the person, because they are speaking in French, and okay, I also know French, but you don't have that confidence to go and ask about what is my room number, or where I can find this room. So that was the experience. And when I went, I saw a lot of Indian people out there. So I was like, then मुझे लगा कि अच्छा हमारे वाले भी हैं. So that was something new.
And it was in Ottawa, right? Ottawa location.
It was Ottawa.
Perfect. Sounds good. And how was the speaking experience? Because speaking is something which is very unpredictable, because it depends on the examiner, on how the examiners are. Are they strict? Are they helping you out? So how was that experience for you in terms of like overall section and section B?
Yeah. So for section A and section B, I would say Vyom, it was okay. I wouldn't say it was great. The person who was sitting in front of me, the instructor, he was asking me questions again and again pertaining to section B. Like even though I have explained the thing, then he would ask the same question again. He would expect a different answer from me. And for section A, as soon as like my section A was done in 40 minutes, like 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Last 20 seconds, because I already asked around 12 or 13 questions. So he was like, okay, j'ai bien répondu toutes vos questions et je pense que c'est bien. So I was like, okay.
All right. So Rajan, now let's talk about reading and listening in TEF Canada exam. Now you both scored really well, okay, and you prepared well for it as well. What will be your advice in the exam center as well on what are the things to consider, but generally as well when it comes to preparing for reading and listening, what should a student focus on? Okay, so first let's talk about exam scenario. Okay, when you are sitting in the exam, what things are very important? What are the things which are very important in reading and listening?
Okay, so for reading and listening, Vyom, I would say you just need to be like focused on whatever your question paper is, because because you have timelines to give the answer. In listening, in reading you have your own time, that you can take your own time and you can answer to the questions according to your convenience. But in listening you have that time span. But the good thing about TEF Canada is that you have different weightage for different questions, right? So what I would like to suggest to other people those who are learning French, that even though some of the questions are skipped, like suppose you have 1 or 2 questions are skipped, then you can focus on the last questions. Those are 25 to last 40 questions. So last 15 questions can make the game or can ruin the game, I would say that. So even if your 2 or 3 questions are left, then don't be worried about it. Just focus on how you can score from the last questions, because if you score a high mark in that last question, then it would be all good for those questions. And you know that I had a habit of checking. So what I used to do in reading and listening is, since I have done a lot of mock tests, so I used to get that idea, okay, yeah, this question of mine is for sure right. Okay, so in exam as well, so what I used to do, I still remember, because my listening was okay. When I used to give mock test, I was okay that मेरा listening में आ जाएगा, मेरा speaking में आ जाएगा, मेरा writing में भी आ जाएगा, but the only thing I was worried about was my reading, because I don't know, before exam my reading went down. The graph of my reading went down. I used to get just 26, 27 before exam, and earlier, like prior to exam, like 15 or 20 days before exam, I used to get 33, 34, 32. But as the exam was coming near, my scores were 26, 27. So I was really frightened about that part. So I was hoping कि बस reading निकल जाए. And since you do a lot of tests, and then you get an idea, okay, अगर इसमें score किया तो इसमें ज़्यादा मिलेंगे. So I had that, मुझे 28 तक लेके आना है, 28 तक लेके आना है. So I still remember when I was in 34, like question number 34, and I had 20 minutes. So I was doing that fast, and I was pretty sure कि मेरे 27 तो right हैं ही इसमें से. So from last 6 question, I just need 2 more right responses to get CLB 7. I had that intention while giving the exam. So I was taking my own time, and I was taking 2 right responses, and then I was like, okay, reading में मेरा हो गया है. And same for listening as well. Listening I was sure. Listening में I got CLB 9, CLB 11, because out of 30 I was sure कि मेरे इसमें से ही हो गया है. Out of 30 questions I was sure कि मेरे 28 right है. So CLB मेरे उधर ही हो गए थे. So last के में से जो 10 क्वेश्चन थे, उसमें से 3 या 4 मुझे सुने भी नहीं थे. But you do a lot of mock tests, so mock test helps you in that way. So you know that, okay, the flow of something was there, even though there was a like passive listening, but you know the flow of question was like this, and ये शायद हो सकता है, तो this, because you don't have a lot of time.
And what? True. And one thing I want to mention to everybody is, because now you mentioned कि okay, mock test helps a lot. Now, what mistake people will make is they will start doing mock test when they are just like in the beginning part of their learning, or they are like starting B1. It's very important to consider कि one should only start mock tests when they're overall comfortable in the language, when they're overall able to listen and read with good enough comprehension. So yeah, so that's one thing which is very important, because like starting mock test too early can also make us in that loop of only doing mock tests and not doing enough comprehensible input.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, the thing is, for that part, for B2 part as well. So first, like we studied in B2 for 90 days. We were in B2 for 90 days. So first 60 days we used to focus on how, like whatever stuff we used to do in B1, but with lot more content, lot more content. Because I would say that from last 6 months, we hadn't have any offs, like from studying French, and we were studying on an average 5 to 6 hours on daily basis, and sometimes it was 7 hours, 8 hours from B2, because the content was same, but the amount of content that we were inculcating was larger than before.
Yeah, correct. So it requires a lot of volume, lot of input to actually get comfortable.
Yeah. So for last 20 days we were just doing the mock test. But we weren't just doing the mock test, we were doing the mock test. Suppose we are doing a mock test for reading, then we do the reading mock test. And what we would do, suppose we have spent an hour for mock test, then we'll spend 2 hours for taking out the verbs, or taking out the words that what ये question मुझे क्यों नहीं आया, what is the pattern of answering a question, how, because suppose you are answering a question and there are 2 responses, then you will be confused between 2 responses, then you will have to put a time in there that why this response is there and why the responses that I selected weren't applicable to this question. So that helped us a lot over the time.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so let's wrap it off with the writing. Rajan, what is important when it comes to writing, like how one should structurize and what to do to clear your writing exam?
Yep. So for that, I would say, first of all, as I told you, what is the difference between personalized learning and learning from someone who has already cleared the exam? So for me, there was Vyom, there was Francophone. So when I started doing writings for exam-based writings, that was for section A and section B. So for writings, I used to go on course, and there was like material giving on writings, and there was proper structure that I need to follow. And over the time I changed the structure, but you need a base, you need you need something that okay मुझे ऐसे लिखना है, you need an overall idea of how you should start your writing. So in that way Vyom has helped me a lot, and Francophone has helped me a lot. And over the time, I would say I used to practice those writings that Vyom has suggested, or those are available in the courses. And when I was comfortable with those writings, then what I did, I used I used to try how to improve my vocabulary, and for a month or for 2 months, then I kept on doing that, and after that it was possible for me to improve my vocabulary. But if you even check my structure today, the structure is same that has been provided by Vyom. I use the same structure, but I have just changed the vocabulary that I have been used.
Yeah, correct. Okay, so once that structure is refined, then I think whatever topic comes in, you'll be able to do it easy. Correct. Perfect. Sounds good. Now let's also talk a little bit about study partners, because you and Darshil, you both studied together, and obviously you were doing speaking practice on with each other as well. So what would you recommend to someone who has a study partner, or who will have a study partner in future, like how they should practice and what are the mistakes they should avoid when practicing with each other?
Okay. So personally, that the trick or the thing that me and Darshil used to use, we used to practice section A, because that time we were in B1, so we didn't know the French that we can speak any random topic. So we knew we did know the French up to a certain extent. That was for section A. So suppose Darshil is asking me question for section A, then I would respond to that questions. So in that manner, what we used to do, that we both of us were practicing. Suppose Darshil is asking a question to me, then I would respond to that question in 2 or 3 sentences. This is how I and Darshil improved our sentences and improved our speaking. And if someone who is gonna have a partner for speaking or for studying, then I would like to say that it is a great thing to have. And the thing is, a healthy competition needs to be there, because if the other person is studying and if you are not studying, then it will give you an instant motivation. Okay, chalo bhai khada ho और मुझे भी पढ़ना पड़ेगा, because if you don't do so, then the other guy will clear the exam and you won't, because because the other guy will put in efforts, right?
Yeah.
And if you are not putting in efforts, then it's your problem. That's not your buddy's problem.
Yeah, true. Very true. Very true. You are accountable for yourself, right? Your buddy will keep you accountable studying with you, but at the end of the day, you have to put in your work. Correct. Perfect. So, let's, if you were to give one advice, Rajan, to beginners and as well to intermediates, what advice would that be if someone is planning to start their French learning, or if they're in the beginning phase of their French learning and they're feeling it is too difficult, like, will I be able to do it, or how it will be? What will be your advice to those beginners?
First of all, they are right. It is difficult, because when I started, I didn't think that it would be this difficult for someone like me, because I was good in academics in my school. So मुझे लगता था कि हो जाएगा यार, language ही तो है. So but when I got into the language, it was tough. But you just need to be there. Just keep on doing it. Just keep on doing it. For me, discipline stands before motivation, because motivations are there, but discipline, you need to be disciplined. You need to do eat each and every day, because this is the only way you can clear the exam. Because this is language, it is not something that if you leave it for a month and you come back, you will have the same grab on the language, right? You need to keep on doing it. And this is what I learned from Vyom, because whenever I used to feel low, I used to think of Vyom. And this is from higher. Okay, I'm not trying to say something about Vyom, but I used to think हमारे पास कोर्स है, हमारे पास because for someone who is learning French today, he has a lot of resources, or she has a lot of resources and a lot of things to imbibe from. But for someone like Vyom or Darshan, who had started this journey a long ago, for those people, they had found the resources first, and then how could have someone learned this language? I used to think this thing in that manner. So if someone like them can do it, we can do that as well. So this is something I used to think, and मैं वापस पढ़ने बैठ जाता था.
Good, good, awesome, perfect. Thank you so much, Rajan. Thank you for every.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.